Okay, good evening once again. Welcome to our presentation. I hope that you will find useful materials today and also share some knowledge with us. The topic of today's webinar is Basic Digital Skills for Employment, Tools and Tips. And I want to thank Alicia that she kindly joined us today, though she presented on kind of the same topic recently in Edmonton. So as an expert, she might share some stuff with us today, or just maybe, comment on my slides and make suggestions. Okay, Yun, I can hear you. Please mute yourself for now. All right, so let's go to our next slide. Here is our agenda. We will discuss some basic digital skills that can help your learners, your clients, to boost their career options. Maybe you will find that like my list is quite short, and you may add something on top of that. That would be awesome. Also, we will discuss how digital presence can help our learners to secure employment and find a job, or maybe it's not necessary to be present online. Also, we will talk about digital safety. All of us, at some point, we have accounts online. We use social media, so how we should protect ourselves and our learners and teach them how to stay on the safe side on the net. Also, we'll discuss some cultural aspects, though they're not quite connected with the digital skills, but we can educate our learners where to find resources and educate them how to educate themselves on using different, perspectives on how immigrants adjust to the work culture here in Canada. And also, I will give you a couple of websites and examples how to continue the journey of digital learning and using digital skills for employment after the presentation. Do you have any questions, any suggestions? So feel free to chat or just pick a microphone. Okay, so the first slide, and actually this is the screenshot of one of Alicia's slides from her presentation. There will be one more here in this webinar. And my first question to you: do you guys think that digital skills, as they are a part of essential skills, as we know, right? So are digital skills connected to the language skills, or is it absolutely something different? Okay, Anastasia says yes. So then when you first meet your learner online, do you see the whole picture, like how you basically evaluate, like how do you think it will be easier for me to work with this learner if he had more digital skills, or his level? Does the CLB level depend on the digital skills? Anastasia, do you want to make any comments? So you say something about reading activities. Hi, Pamela. I'm so happy to see you tonight. Alicia says not always, but often. So as we can see from this chart, okay, Yun says my learner is rather young. She grew up with it. Okay. So here we can see that that your learners can have different skills already, right? So some of the jobs that we prepare our learners to, or when they learn the language to find the specific jobs, they may have already have some skills, right? And some positions, they require some minimum digital literacy. Some of the professions can use more skills, right? To be successful here, we need to support our learners as well, to guide them where to improve those skills. So if you look at these levels at this chart, where would your learner, like your regular learner, be? Like what level? What is the usual level of your usual learner? Or it depends. It changes all the time. Okay, Pamela says level 2, 3. Okay. Okay. So do you think? Great, thank you, guys. Do you think in the modern world, if you have more skills, more digital skills, then you will be more not lucky. So you will be more likely that you will find this employment. Do you need to be above the usual level of like of all to have more skills, to be up the level of this usual level 2 or 3? Anastasia says it would be more helpful. Okay, sometimes. All right. Okay, when you were guys looking for your, let's say, last job, right? Do you feel that your computer skills, your digital skills, they really helped you with securing this job, or it didn't depend? It more depend on other type of essential skills. Alicia says, oddly enough, they didn't care for mine. Okay. Other type of skills. Yeah, from my experience, I would agree with you that though we do encourage our learners to improve their digital skills or the skills and technologies, yeah, all the 9 essential skills that we know, they are altogether, they are more important than one specific skill. But still, we need to support them, and that is why we are going to move to the next slide. So writing a resume, when we start looking for the new job, this is where we start from, right? We update our resume and we make some changes. Have you ever used, some online templates? Do you trust some specific websites where you look for, the kind of templates, or you just if you go through your learner's resume, and if they ask you to help to correct it, to check it, you just use whatever they have? So how do you usually work with resumes? Do you want to make any comments? Feel free to pick up the microphone. Yvonne says that her learners use templates. At some of the webinars, we discussed that usually the human resource specialist spends about 30-40 seconds on a resume to decide if it goes to the next step or not. So Yun says, I would give some good and not so good examples for my learner to look at. All right. So do you think that it's crucial or important to use digital technologies, some let's say cool templates, like colorful templates for resumes, so that they can catch the eye of the recruiter? Or you just usually, go with whatever you have? Do you think it's important or not?
I would say it's important because I think that the format, having a professional looking resume is that the employer looks at that aspect. And so if you have a good professional looking template, I think it helps.
Thank you, Yvonne. Okay, I agree with you. Any other ideas? Yun says, I think it should be looked professional and easy and appealing to look at. All right, great, thank you. There is a number of programs that you can find online, or if you just Google resume templates and how to organize your you can do it online, right? You can just copy and paste or upload some information if it's a specific app or program, and definitely this type of resumes will catch the eye of the recruiter, and if there are 30-40 resumes, it may help at some point to get into the number of people who will be interviewed. Here we have some links. Can you guys please try and click on those links and tell me if they are working, like if they refer you to the web page of Live and Learn, so that I just know. Or I can copy the link, all the links in the chat box. They're working. Okay, perfect. So on our website, we have a number of articles that suggest how to prepare your learners, your clients, build up a resume. Alicia says, I make sure it is quality template. Okay, great. A lot of online templates are not designed well or don't allow important HR standards. Great. I can also suggest so not all the websites, let's say some government websites, they do not accept from you those formats that you have already created. At some point, it may be absolutely useless to create a colorful, resume with some existing template. I know some people even pay money, to look at so that it looks very professional. Let's say our government sites, they usually do not accept those formats. You just need to copy and paste the text as it is. So when you want to apply, or your client wants to apply for the job, check on that first, and then decide whether the format of this template is appropriate or not. Okay, Alicia says, yes, some beautiful resumes. Yeah, will be completely scrambled. Great. Yes. Even if it's a perfect candidate. Yeah, because at this point, the specialists behind the screen, right, who receive your resume, they are so professional that they, even without your beautiful, touches, they can identify the skills of the candidate. Depends on the profession. Yvonne says teachers need to look creative. Okay, great. Accountants need to look standard. Exactly. Thank you. Okay, then let's move forward. So the next skill that is very important for our learners at English Online and for many other learners everywhere across the country is filling online forms and online registrations. How often, guys, do you need to guide your learners, or maybe you want to know something new about registrations or filling on online forms? Can you just give me a couple of maybe tips? What would you suggest, your colleagues, when we speak about teaching how to fill on online forms? Anastasia says not often. Let's say English Online has an online registration form, right, where we have a bunch of questions, some personal information, some private information like your UCI number or date of birth. But most of the forms, they also include some questions, some pre-screening, like behavior questions or stuff like that. Yvonne says, I have never had to do this with a learner, but I think it's a good exercise. For renting a house, okay, great. Alicia says, speaks about Google Forms, assessments before the first session, great. Okay, I would recommend you to pay attention to online forms. What we can show our learners here, I would just recommend to go through some online registration form together. You can even, as a template, you can use English Online online registration form, and identify which fields are optional, which fields are mandatory. Usually people try to skip the optional fields. Do you think it's a good idea? Let's say if you are going to find, a new job and you have a bunch of questions in the form that are optional, would you care about those questions, or you usually skip such stuff? What would you recommend your learners? Any ideas? Lack of words that. Okay. I would recommend to fill all the spaces, right? Answer all the questions, whether they are optional or mandatory. Thank you, Yoon. So you recommend to test himself or herself, okay? Right. You can just, or even. So then, okay, if you say that that usually people skip those questions, why then those people who create those forms, and they know that they are optional, why do they include those questions? Especially if it's application, let's say application for a new job. Any ideas? Okay. Usually, I would HR consultants, they do include these questions, and eventually they do want to check something, right? So Anastasia says describes your achievements. Those questions usually they are like additional questions, or they can be even behavioral questions. So I always recommend my learners to answer all the questions. They can be short answers, but if we do answer, we show that we spend some more time on this task, that we take it very seriously, that the learners put all their energy into this whatever application or registration, and it shows the attitude, right, of you as a person, how you want to be involved. If on the other side of the screen the person doesn't have enough information about you at the end of this registration application, so the services that they deliver or whatever purposes the form was for may not be that great, right? Or the person can go on the wait list forever. So I would recommend to pay more attention to those optional fields. Anastasia is talking about achievements. Great. Maybe Yvonne says maybe it gives the employer more information about the candidate. Yes, it gives. Alicia says more answers, information about the candidates, give the HR reviewer a better picture. Absolutely. Okay. If on this online registration forms we find some important information, if the form asks to, let's say, put in your credit card information, or your mom's maiden name, or so some more personal questions, would you trust this form right away? Would you double check? Would you ask for advice? Like, what will be your actions? Password checking? No. Ask for advice, says Pam. Yvonne would double check as well. Yoon says, I would alert my learners of being asked personal questions online. Right. Depending on what organization you are dealing with, there might be some level of security, right? Like, let's say even with English Online forms, we do ask our learners to submit their PR card, the picture of their PR card, or of the passport. So yeah, this can be very sensitive information, and depending on the website, please double check with your learners always. But we will talk a bit later about the security. Exactly, helps identify scam postings quickly, especially things like that that ask for mother's maiden name. Okay, great. Also with the forms, with online forms and online registrations, it's not about security. That again, we will be talking a bit later. It's more, I just want to warn you that even if the site is absolutely legitimate, if let's say if it's some a publisher who sells books online, it can be a Canadian publisher, always make sure that when you order anything online, or your learners are ordering or like buying something, that you read all the terms and conditions. And if you check some subscriptions, it may not be just, the newsletter subscription in the end. It may be the continuous purchase of the same edition. Let's say if it's an annual edition of some book or some CD or whatever you buy, they may have new editions each year, right? And before purchasing anything like that, please make sure that you do not subscribe for those annual new editions. So I had this issue myself. I won't tell you the name of the publisher, but it's a Canadian publisher, and it was a very unpleasant situation for me. I had to go to the post office. I had to pay money and send the book back, and then call 3 times to this publisher. So for me, it looked like scam, but apparently it's not. So just be aware of that as well. Do you think that if a website is asking for your credit card information, it's all like, do you always give your credit card information? If it's, okay, sorry, the question is like this. Let's say if they give you a free trial for a month and you can use the website for a month for free, but they ask you for your credit card information, would you agree to provide this information or not? Anastasia says yes. Pam says no. Okay, so Pamela says no, I will do the trial first. Yeah, but sometimes you cannot do the trial before you provide the credit card information. So they ask you to, they say, okay, we will ask you for your credit card information. We are not going to charge you, but then in 2 weeks when the trial finishes, we will automatically charge you for this, right? For the next period, right? So yeah, Anastasia says it depends. So yeah, just again, double check the terms and conditions, and don't forget to cancel your subscription. It's with most legal sites, yeah, it's easy to cancel it. But sometimes, even when some online shops or organizations, they send those newsletters for you and you cannot unsubscribe. So this can also happen with this site. So always double check. Okay. Thank you, Pamela. Also, I would pay attention when we are talking about filling in online forms. We can always pay attention and teach our learners that when they answer the questions, they should be logical, clear, that they should use appropriate formats, and they should use the same format for the whole application, right? So that it looks professional. I know that some people do not capitalize, let's say, their first and last name when they complete the forms, or they use just capital letters for the forms. Would you pay attention to this or not? Do you think it's important? Alicia says yes. Thank you. I also think it's important. And somehow many people don't capitalize their names. I don't know if it's like a cultural aspect. So just one of my colleagues was once confused. She couldn't understand why. Actually, the question was some of her learners used her name, started her name with a small letter, and she didn't understand like why, what's going on. So yeah, capitalizing is very important. Sometimes very important to some people. Okay, great. Now let's move to the next slide. Do you have any questions? Okay.
I just want to make a comment.
Okay.
I find that that some forms have certain conventions that change depending on the country. What I ran into with someone who was trying to input a foreign address was that they couldn't get it to fit the Canadian convention, so they had to really work at it. So, sometimes there's a difference between conventions among different countries.
Good to know. Thank you, Yvonne. Great. Thank you. Okay, the next slide, we will talk a little bit about sending emails and attachments. If you don't mind, I will just quickly give you some tips for this slide, because I have a couple of videos as well and a couple of quizzes for you, so that we try to fit our hour. So for the emails, so the basic recommendations, always recommend your learners to put the topic, right, to name the email. Also, double check when you attach the files to your email, so that you do not send some inappropriate files or something different, especially when we talk about resumes and applying to the job, right? It's very important to send, let's say, the latest version of your resume, or if you have a bunch of resumes saved on your computer, make sure that you send the correct cover letter and resume, attach it to the email. Try never respond on unknown email address. Like if you don't know the person who is sending you any attachments, please don't open any attachments. It can be a virus, or it can be some automatic, subscription again, or who knows what else it can be. Also, it's great if you check how to send automatic emails if you have never used this feature. Let's say if your friend's birthday is in a couple of weeks, or your learners, your learner has to email something in a week, but he or she will be on holidays or on a business trip. So this option can be very useful. So the automatic emails, you can schedule it for some day in the future. Also, we recommend here to double check the address, right? I had a once I forwarded an email to one of our volunteers, and it was a birthday card, like happy birthday. And then I don't know how I could do it, but I put it was saved in my database under this person's name. But when I later checked, somehow the email address of another person attached to this name of a different person, right? And so this other person texts me, and actually she also had a birthday recently, so she emails me back and says that it's not me, it's me, like it's not her, it's me. So double check the email address, especially when we talk about employment. If the person doesn't give you permission to send the copy of the email to the third party, to another person, never do it. So it can, especially in the workplace, it can be very unpleasant, a very unpleasant situation. Always ask for permission. Or if you share, some information, some personal information from other person's email, so always ask for the permission. Also, if you are away on holidays, there is another option for you and your learners to Anastasia's commenting. Okay, thanks. So another option for you, if you're on a trip, let's say, right, you can set automatic replies. If you do have, if you do receive an email, your Outlook or Gmail, whatever system you use, receives an email from another person, there may be an automatic reply that you will be back in the office or home in Canada in a couple of days or weeks, so that you still track those person emails, right? And there is no misunderstanding or kind of break in communication. And in terms of employment, it's great to remind our learners that thankful emails after the job interview is a great extra option, maybe, to remind about yourself after the interview and be recruited later on. Okay, any ideas, any questions about emails and attachments? Yeah, thank you, Pamela. Great way for them to remember you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then I will go forward. Formatting and secure downloading. Well, I would say that all of you are quite, are very educated and in terms of technologies, and you know everything already, right? But for the file formats, I still feel that many learners do have questions, especially when they study online, when they take some courses. They do sometimes need help how to maybe convert files from one to another, how to resize them, to make them smaller. If they've sent a PowerPoint presentation and it should be not more than 10 megabytes, right, or 15, whatever, they won't just fit into the email. And so if you just give some tips to your learners like those, or let's say when you open some forms, some application forms online, and before, like, the computer may not even let you open them before you save them and then open them using your PDF, opening with like your PDF files. So these types of tips can be also good suggestions to share them with your learners. And as for the downloading, we wanted just to remind you that always make sure that you click the button, download buttons on secure websites where when you're sure that this resource is not gonna damage your computer or your system, and so on. All right. Now we will talk a little bit about searching the job and how to navigate different websites. I just put a couple here. When we talk about employment, do you have your favorite website that you refer to when your learners ask about any resources? You can share them in the chat box. I'm not asking if it's useful to, like, if it ever helps to use those websites, but just it's very important to support the learners, and maybe specific organizations where they can go directly and look for the available postings on this, say, universities' websites, or depending on the field, right? Okay. Many of my learners like LinkedIn. Okay, thank you, Yvonne. I think it's very important, indeed, and LinkedIn, says Alicia, thank you. I think it's important to help your learners learn how to navigate through these websites. Some of the posts may be fake posts, right? Some organizations just post because they have to post some position. Can you give any examples why this happens? Because many people, many learners, many newcomers, they may put so much effort into applying for this specific job that they find online, but it may not even be a real position, right? Okay, I'll just quickly tell you. So we know that many immigrants come to Canada, and when organizations are hiring and they have someone in mind already, but they still need to post for 30 days, right? At least 30 days. They have to post this position online. So not all of the positions will be available for the candidates, even if it's online. So many commercial organizations, they put very high salaries there. They attract with some, juicy commercial, like, advertisements of their positions. So if you just kind of, I think it's very interesting, even for us as teachers, just to identify those posts, those job posts, and maybe support your learners how to, sort them out, how to separate them from the real positions. Also, many organizations now, they do ask to create online account, right? So that they apply within their website, and they have their online application forms, and they also you can also subscribe for newsletters. Even if you do not get this position at this time, your resume will stay in their database. So it's also one of the options. Yvonne says, I think that employment agencies may just go looking for candidates, so they post jobs just to get interest. Yeah, sometimes they just check how many people will actually apply. Yep. As we already mentioned, some organizations, some of the websites, they do not need fancy resumes. And you can use such tools as word counters, and so they will ask you to submit a resume that contains no more than, let's say, 5,000 words. So you can also support your learners how to use word counting websites, so that their resume fits in the end, right, into their platform. Alicia says, I recommend LinkedIn for networking, not job postings in the US. It is common to apply directly for large companies with LinkedIn, but it hasn't really got on in Canada yet. Okay, thank you. And yeah, some websites also give you a long list of terms and conditions. Let's say if it's the government website, it may even ask you if your information is true, or you will be you may be prosecuted if you can basically become a criminal if you give the wrong information. So I think newcomers should be aware of this as well. Okay, let's move forward. Yeah, Pamela says government's website is very intense. Right. Thank you. Okay. Now we'll talk quickly about improving essential skills. Can you give me a couple of, so we already discussed digital or computer skills as one of the essential skills. Can you name a couple more? So we know there are 9 of the essential skills for the workplaces. Can you remind what other essential skills do we need to succeed in the workplace? Writing, perfect. Interpersonal skills, great. Digital literacy, great. Anything else? Okay, just a second. I lost my mouse. Organizational skills, working with others, reading and summarizing. Okay. Yeah, I would add also here document use, numeracy, and continuous learning, and thinking skills as well. And we always recommend our learners and our volunteers to keep on learning and explore different courses. If you have time later, you can watch the YouTube video that we can see here. Negotiating skills. Thank you, Yvonne. Document use, great. It's a long video. We're not going to watch it, but it gives a better understanding of essential skills. I'm sure that not all of the learners, not all the newcomers know about. I mean, they do know, and they may possess those skills, but they may not know that a Canadian workplace culture pays so much attention to those skills. And at the interview, sometimes the employer can even ask you, do you know what essential skills are? Do you have any essential skills? So I think it's important to teach our learners about that stuff. Now we will quickly talk about phone and Skype interviews, as they are also a part of digital skills for employment. Here on the slide, we can see that preparation is very important. That if you have a chance to have your resume with you that you submitted, right, and be prepared for the interview, then it's really, really very important. Also, okay, I will ask you a question actually here. So, is it actually possible to be prepared for a phone interview? And is there any difference between a phone interview? Like, what's the purpose of having a phone interview before a face-to-face interview? Is it very common? Like, have you ever do you have this experience yourself? Would you give any kind of suggestions or recommendations to your learners who are preparing for the job interview? Anastasia, can you please pick up the microphone and give a couple of ideas?
Okay, I'll try. So usually the phone interview is for the agencies. I think so.
Mm-hmm.
They usually they ask about your skills. They figure out if you a match for this position or not. Then they have another phone call, another interview. Usually it's also the phone call or the Skype one, whatever. Like the first one is to see if you are a match. That what happened with my learners.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the first phone interview is not. It was not the interview with the manager or HR person. I don't know who was that. That was someone from the that was not the person from the company they applied for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's how it worked with my learners. I don't know what about the others. So
Thank you, Anastasia. Well, I can comment here that usually phone interviews they run by the HR consultants. Usually, if organization is hiring some company to select the right candidate, so that will be the person who will be talking to you. And from my experience, not many people are prepared for this phone interviews, and they do not even have their resumes like somewhere close to them, and they maybe just in the office, and they even don't know how to if they can reschedule it, if they can ask this person to call them back. Yvonne says, I think it's a good option if you're recruiting Canada-wide. Okay. And Pamela says, most times it's an informal getting to know you. I would say no. It should be considered as a usual face-to-face interview, and all the questions they usually ask them. So they usually ask a part of those. So they ask the most important questions, like they have seen your resume already, right? So your resume already fits. So they just want to know if it's really you behind, right, the screen or on the other side of the phone. Yes, Pamela suggests to request for a call back. Absolutely, you can ask. You can take a break, right? You can just give yourself some time, or if you really cannot talk, you can ask and reschedule and be more prepared. And as Anastasia mentioned, this type of interviews is becoming more and more common. So I think our learners should be aware of that. Yvonne says, I think that my friend who designs interviews and tests for people with disabilities probably designs for this. Okay, so another thing that I would like to mention here, that usually after the phone if there was a phone interview, many organizations would suggest you to take sort of an IQ test, or like they have some other name for it, but still they would check so many skills that you have from those essential skills that we mentioned. They can check your numeracy skills, how good you are at mathematics. They can change your vocabulary, your grammar, your behavior, and all like logical thinking. So it's like a huge test that follows, and it's a very tricky test. They will never tell you. They will always tell you that you did great, right? That and there is no opportunity to prepare. So you never know what kind of questions will be in the test. But I have a question here. Okay, just let me read the comments. Nerve-wracking, yeah. Recently, the government of Canada held an online test for candidates in the administrative category. I didn't complete that form first try. Okay, so the question here, usually it will be an online test, and they will just give you a link, whatever password, and your learners or you yourself have to log in and go, let's say, through 100 questions or 50 questions. And they don't give you specific time for that, so that they may not even, you may not have any time boundaries. So you just have a test, you can Google, you can search for the answers, multiply online, whatever. Do you think you should use this opportunity to look and search for the answers, or they are so smart that they would actually calculate the time that you spent on the test? Because when I design the tests, let's say in our on our website, and when new volunteers take the quizzes, right, I see how many times they took the quiz, how many minutes they spent between the quizzes, and it's all like 99% that even if your first result was 0 or 10% correct, then you will spend, there will be just 1 or 2 minutes between the tests. It means, between the quizzes, it means that you never go back to the slides, you never go back to the materials, you just take the quiz many times. So, any ideas? I'll stop here for a second. So the government test is timed, yeah. So yeah, some of them may be timed, but if it's not, let's say if you have as much time as you want. No, Pamela, not necessarily you will have the time limit. If it's, especially if the college gives you some, like, yeah, if it's, okay, yeah, there may be time limit, but if it's not. Okay, no comments.
So what do you mean, Tatiana? If it's not timed, so it means that they have to spend as much time as they want. They will check their understanding of 7 words, whatever, try again and again. So they are for themselves. They will do as much as they want.
Yes, exactly. But the person who is checking the test after you finished, right? She or he can see how much time you spent on the test, right? And let's say if out of 50, like if 10% of the questions were mathematical questions, right? And you answered correctly on all the questions, but you spent 30 minutes on doing that.
So they will not take you?
Yeah, I mean, like if you have good mathematical skills, I don't. Let's say I do not. Yeah. So, and I will need this half an hour to Google the answers, let's say, right? But then they are very smart and they will see that, okay, if she did have those numeracy skills, she wouldn't spend half an hour doing that task, right? She will do it very, like, much quick, faster. So yeah, these tests are kind of can be very tricky. They can test different, logical thinking and, okay, let me read the comments. If the person has, they cannot, they cannot check it, right? But they always give you instructions so they trust you, right? They trust your truthfulness, and they will ask you not to use any extra resources or the help of other people. Okay, Anastasia. Thank you. Sorry, guys. I still have some slides. I'm sorry. I like talking. Okay, let's go very quickly. So digital presence. Yeah, I think it's very important to be present online, to have some basic information about yourself. If you really want to build your career using those information. If it's just, for communication, for your friendships and partnerships, then it's a different story, right? But anyways, your account should look professional. The information should be truthful, updated, and if you do copy something from external websites and paste on your account, let's say in LinkedIn, also check the formatting, the spelling. Some profiles that looked super professional. So many like huge job history with like high, like great workplaces like universities and stuff like that. But if you start reading it and looking at it, you would see that information was just copied, pasted. It was done very unprofessionally in the end. So make sure that your profiles and the profiles of your learners look nice. The next slide tells us about reputation, online reputation. Again, the same thing that double check what kind of information is accessible, what photos, videos you share on your websites, on your blogs or portfolios. So we already talked about digital safety, and some of the tips we already discussed. I will also mention, okay, just give me a second. I will also mention that especially like fresh newcomers should be aware of different scams, especially during, taxation period, and they can receive all sort of phone calls from the banks and receive news emails with attachments and all kind of scam and spam. Okay. Personally, I try not to accept Skype requests from people that I do not know, even if it's even if it's a potential learner of English Online, right? So I wait for the email because all the information is open on the website. They can send an email and ask the questions first, and then if they want to add me and talk on Skype, then I add them. Okay, Alicia is asking, saying fishing is so hard. Even completely fluent English speakers fall for it. Right, absolutely. So I'm gonna quickly run a very small poll with you. We are gonna analyze 2 pages, 2 websites, how they look, and decide if they're fishy or real. Okay, I'll give you like several seconds to look at the page. Pay attention to the web address. Okay, Alicia says fish. Okay, I'll give you a poll here. So please pick one, A or B. A, fishy, B, real. Okay. Or okay. So 4 people say it's a fishy website. So can you please comment? Before I go to the next slide where we will actually see, I just want you to make comments. Alicia, can you please help us? Can you pick up the microphone? So Alicia says the address is not correct. So if you look at the address here, it says HTTP. So usually such websites as eBay or well, I would say most of the professional websites. No, it's fine, no problem. Yeah, they will have a secure URL, and it will say HTTPS. So here, this S is missing, plus the name of the website, right? It's not eBay, it's something absolutely different. Okay, let me just go to the next slide then. It's too good to be true. Okay, here we see some other stuff. Number 3, different font and design elements from the real eBay login screen. So right, we have different types of formatting. The boxes sign in and register there of different size, of different color, highlighted sentences. So yeah, it's different type of formatting. Also, it says number 4, low graphic resolution. Well, here we can't really see it here because it's a screenshot, but yes, on the website it's very clear. And I will give you the link to the full test, the full quiz. You can practice it with more other questions, more options. And I have the second slide here. So this is a famous PayPal. And again, fish or real. Okay, Yvonne doesn't know. Mhm. Mhm. Okay, so 3 people says it's fishy. Pamela says don't know. Okay. So then let's see the next slide. Companies don't ask for personal information online. The companies may ask for some of the personal information. Yeah, but here, when they ask you for your social insurance or social security number, your driver's license number, this is too personal, right? So absolutely too much information they request. Then again, the address of the website, it doesn't have this HTTPS, no secure login plus PayPal, though it appears in the domain name, it's not the real website. In our links, you will find the whole quiz. I think it's interesting to just go through. It's like maybe 10 questions, and you can identify all those kind of stuff. So this is the second picture that I took from Alicia's presentation. So netiquette is very important. We will go very quickly because we are running out of time already. So stop, think, and then type, upload, send, and post. Netiquette basics. Yeah, we should always remember how we communicate, how polite we are. If we researched, if we were looking for some answers before we ask for support and of other people, if we help the newbies, those who are just the beginners in using computers and online resources. Hopefully you will watch a couple of videos after the session, or maybe in your free time. You will find it also in the slides. How not to be rude, how to be polite, how to respond in a polite manner, how not to use, how not to capitalize the messages, emails, so that it doesn't look very aggressive or demanding. And there will be another test with 10 practical situations, how to use, how to respond in different, how to act in different situations. If you just click on the second link, it will refer you right away, and then you will be able to do it after the webinar. Yvonne says we teach pragmatics, polite language to learners. Great, thank you. The 10 Commandments of Computer Ethics. It's we almost discussed this type of things during our volunteer trainings before, and still you have to be very polite and try not to harm other people, be very respectful, even if you, let's say, cancel the class or reschedule it, or you feel that there is some conflict. So always try to be polite and maybe ask for support from your supervisor or coordinator, and try to fix it this way. Another tip that we wanted to give you today is to remember that your digital footprints can be tracked. It means that if you ever uploaded anything on your social media websites, if you sent any attachments to your emails or commented on some videos or websites, again, it can be saved somewhere online. in some clouds, and people can have the access to it. So if you want to avoid any kind of, unpleasant situations in the future, try not to make unpleasant comments, even if it's just a simple picture or video on Facebook. So make sure that doxing. Thank you, Alicia. So make sure. Great. So make sure that you stay professional, not only in your classroom or digital classroom, and also in your free time. Okay. Also, I wanted to mention that and we have the websites mentioned in this webinar. And definitely, yeah, I will. You will have in the same if you follow the same link. Let's say tomorrow or on Monday, you will just find the slides uploaded there in this presentation. Okay. When we talk about etiquette or netiquette, we should think even broader. We should think about digital citizenship, right? It's not just about being nice to your learner. It's also about digital commerce, digital law, rights and responsibilities, and health and security. So if you are more interested in this topic, you can also Google it, or English Online, Live and Learn has many articles on the topic of digital citizenship. And the last last topic that I wanted to mention today is cultural aspects and diversity. These links will refer you to CIC website, and they give us some understanding of Canadian work culture and how it can be compared to other understandings, because many newcomers, they see everything differently. They have to adjust to the local culture and how it works, and it may take up to 3 years. And many of them, they don't feel if they belong in the company, or they may consider some situations really unfair. Okay, Pam. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. I'm actually wrapping up. Sorry, guys. I didn't expect I would talk longer. So here is some statistics, and some organization from BC called Success had this research, or some kind of a research in back in 2009, and though we know that Canadian culture is honesty, friendly and fair relationship, respect, and everything great, right? Still, there is some percentage of people that are not sure about Canadian workplace culture and what it is, and some people even find it unfair. So I think it's very important to pay attention to this topic as well when we speak about digital literacy. Some of these videos actually, Northwest College has such a great collection of videos that present this kind of situations when cultural aspects can become some issue, can rise some problems or issues at the workplace. And also you will have the link to all these videos, when you can just go through these videos with your learners and discuss them, and see if this situations ever happened, or how to avoid these situations in the future workplace. And also more links here for you to search through after the webinar in your free time. Some of I think Alicia's presentation will be on the second link. Do you guys have any questions about our webinar. Yes, weebly.com. Yeah, you did great job. Like, I was so amazed. Such a beautiful presentation. Such a great presentation of a presentation. Thank you. All right. So thank you so much, guys. Sorry for taking some more of your free time. Please feel free to Skype. Please feel free to email me, and I will forward you your certificate of participation. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me. Yeah. Thank you. My birthday will be in a week, in a week and 3 days. Thank you. Good night. Yvonne, you have a great trip. I'm so jealous of you. Thank you. Good night, guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.